For as long as I can remember, I've been interested in guitar gear. When I got my first job and was still living at home, a concerning amount of my paycheck went to new gear. I'd established a pattern of buying gear, using it for a little bit, and then selling it to fund other gear to keep that pattern going. This pattern was most prevalent for me with guitar pedals. I think in 7 years I had bought and sold 4 or 5 different pedal boards, and a lot of them had different pedals on them because I would sell all my pedals, buy new pedals, sell all the pedals. It was exhausting, and honestly, I got really sick of it. I want to talk about how this pedal, the MXR Carbon Copy, inadvertently forced me to stop buying gear and taught me how to embrace what I had. Let's check it out. Throughout university, I dreamed of owning a super complicated pedal board with MIDI switching, you name it, all of that. Think Rhett Shull, Rabia Masad. That's what I really wanted, or so I thought I wanted. I had owned many Strymon pedals up until that point, and a lot of pedals with MIDI switching, so I thought it'd be really cool to do. So in 2022, I made it happen. I decided I was going to make my pedal board dream a reality, and decided I was going to buy a Boss ES8 switcher and another Strymon pedal. I found one for sale on Kijiji, and I messaged the seller. He told me that he had built a pedal board for the Boss ES8 to fit in, and that he would consider selling it to me. I was super excited because I didn't have a pedal board that would fit the switcher, and I was going to have to buy a pedal board anyways. So I pestered him for a month or so, and then he finally decided to sell it to me for a really high price. The board was everything I ever dreamed of. It had cable connections on the side, a power button on it, and room for pedals underneath the actual pedal board, which with a switcher was awesome for me. I was so excited, I had cables made for it, bought a ton of MIDI cables for it, and started programming the board to work for me. At that time, the only downside for me was that it was super heavy and really awkward to carry, but I was able to look past it because it was super cool. However, my love for this board came to an abrupt end on a very hot August night in 2022. It was a scorching hot summer night in August. My band Daryl Saves Lives was playing a show at a local venue called the Aviary. At the time, the Aviary didn't have an air conditioning and would get super unbearably hot in the summer. Unfortunately for us, that night was one of the hottest nights of the year. The room felt like it was 35 degrees and it was hot and humid, so it just felt disgusting playing in it. I had never felt heat like this before. The week before the show, Daryl Saves Lives played at a festival that was 33 degrees outside, and this room felt infinitely hotter. Our former guitarist who played a song with us on stage nearly threw up because it was so hot. The heat alone made me not want to play this show, but at soundcheck, everything got so much worse. I plugged in my pedal board and the Boss ES8 was malfunctioning. It was cycling through the different banks and presets a mile a minute, and I couldn't use it. So I plugged directly into the amp at soundcheck, and afterwards immediately tried to fix the board. I messed with all the different cables, and we got it working, we thought. So 1 or 2 songs in and my board goes completely down. And I use my board for my overdrive sound, so I'm kinda screwed at this point. And I had a guitar solo coming up in 10 or 15 seconds, so I signaled to my bandmate Nick to give me his guitar, and I finished the song with his guitar on top of my guitar playing the guitar solo. The photos in the video look super cool and it looks like we almost planned it, but I assure you we didn't. After that, I tried plugging my guitar back in and the board was not working at all. So I plugged directly into the amp, and at that moment, the honeymoon phase was completely over. I got the board working after the show, but honestly, the honeymoon phase was completely over. I didn't want anything complicated, I just wanted something simple and, more importantly, reliable. I decided to list the board for sale, and for over 6 months, no one messaged me about it. Even though I kept lowering the price, everyone stayed clear of the board. Finally though, someone messaged me and offered me a trade. They wanted to trade for an MXR Carbon Copy. Even though I wasn't crazy about the MXR Carbon Copy, I immediately said yes, because a Carbon Copy delay is way lighter than the pedal board that I had, and took up way less space. I met up at his place, and we did the deal, and I got the pedal. Once I got home and plugged in the Carbon Copy, I remembered why I didn't really like it that much. Over 10 years ago when I was purchasing my first delay pedal, I had narrowed my options down to 2, the MXR Carbon Copy and a TC Electronic Flashback. I tried both of them out for a long periods of time at my local music store, and I decided that I liked the Flashback more. I found the Carbon Copy to be a little too dark for my liking, which I know it's an analog delay so it's supposed to be dark, but at the time I wasn't really that crazy about the sound. Trying the pedal out again 10 years later made me feel the exact same way. I wasn't really that crazy about it, unfortunately. I considered putting the pedal up for sale immediately, but I decided against it because I had just waited 6 months to get rid of the pedal board and I wanted a break from Kijiji. I was a bit bummed and I really didn't know what to do, but then I remembered a university lecture I heard over 4 years ago and it completely changed my perspective. When I was studying music and music production in university, I had the privilege of hearing a speaker named Russell Broom speak to my class multiple times. Besides having the best guitar tone I've ever heard in my life, Russell is a super accomplished producer, songwriter, performer, you name it. He has a Juno Award for his work with Jan Arden and has worked on numerous TV shows and so much other stuff that would take a long time to list everything. When he was speaking to my recording class, he said something to us that resonated with me but also shook me to my core. What he essentially told us was that he spent 1 year learning a piece of gear fully and wouldn't consider learning any other pieces of gear or buying any other pieces of gear until he had learned that piece fully. In this example, he was referring to how he purchased a Neve 1073 and how he only used that preamp and learned it inside and out so that he knew how to use it. This rocked me at the time because I was buying and selling gear left and right and buying plugins left and right without actually learning how to use them. That advice has always stuck with me, and I thought about it when I was considering selling the MXR Carbon Copy. I decided I was going to hunker down and learn what I liked about the pedal and make it work for me and embrace what I had. Once I decided I was going to keep the pedal, I immediately started tinkering with it. I found that I really liked the modulation sound of this pedal, and I felt that it really colored my sound in a really nice way and gave me a chorusy guitar sound without using a chorus pedal. I realized that I didn't like the pedal when I had the mix turned up too much because I felt it was a little too dark and overbearing. So I kept playing with it and I realized that this pedal was perfect to have as an always-on delay, something that just gives my guitar a little bit more space in the mix. After that, I stopped messing with any of the knobs and was happy. I left it there and I was good to go. Immediately after I realized how much I loved this pedal, I was tempted by another one. I was at one of my local guitar stores and I got to try out the Strymon Brig before it was officially announced. And oh my god, that pedal was amazing. That was like the best delay pedal I had ever heard, and I was almost gonna buy it on the spot and sell my carbon copy. And then I immediately remembered again what Russell Broom said, and I realized I had to pull away now, so I decided not to buy it and stuck with the carbon copy. And honestly, I'm proud of myself that I did that, because I still love the carbon copy, and even though maybe it isn't as good as the Strymon Brig, it works really well for me, and I'm proud that I embraced what I had. Funnily enough, this pedal became so important to my sound that it's all over my band Daryl Saves Lives upcoming EP. I found the modulation delay sound worked really great for the music, as I wanted a chorus guitar sound without having a chorus pedal. I'm sure there's going to be a day where the carbon copy isn't on my pedal board, and that's totally okay. I'm just happy that I made this pedal work for me so much, and I embraced what I had, rather than buying something new that I didn't really need when I already had what I needed. I will never sell this pedal, and to me it's a really good lesson to myself to wait before I buy something new. Now I want to hear from you. Is there a piece of gear that you purchased that you didn't like at first, but grew to love? Let me know in the comments down below, as I'd love to hear your stories. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. My goal is to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year, and I really think we can do it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm Cole G, and I'll see you in the next one.